this vague way of looking at things, and it's clouded. Their vision is clouded. They can't see clearly through the fog. Now, Islamically speaking, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned two conditions: that a person is practicing and you accept his religion, you accept his level of practicing, and the second condition is his behavior, his manners, his conduct, and his ethics. So if these two were fulfilled, then he would be the right husband, the ideal husband. Now, this, having said that, does not mean we should neglect anything else. But these come on the surface, on the top, and everything else comes or follows afterwards. But what the Muslims are doing nowadays is the other way around.
Yes.
So the first thing they check about his education, his bank account, whether he has a good job or not, how does he look, what family does he come from, and then at the very end, oh yes, before we leave, does he pray? So this is the wrong way of looking at things.
Okay, so when a young girl is thinking about marriage, and when we talked about in the episode about the child upbringing, we said one of the first rights of the child upon his mother is to choose the ideal father. Especially in today's world, we are only speaking about the young people growing up now. And of course, we know many of the women now are studying in universities. They're academic, they're professionals. What are your advice to sisters when they're looking for that ideal person? What are some of the qualities they look for, especially in today's world? And how can they really recognize those qualities?
I believe that it all revolves around these two characteristics that the Prophet mentioned, ﷺ, because analyze this. A marriage has an understanding. So I would ask this girl who is looking for an ideal husband, what are you looking for? When she lists down her demands and requests, you definitely find that they are not realistic. Now, she wants him to be 23 years old with a PhD, which usually people, when they're 27 or 28 years old, maybe they can achieve that. And he has a prominent managerial job, preferably CEO, if not a VP would do. A big fat salary, paycheck at the end of the month, a big mansion, a driver, couple of cars, a beach house, a boat. What is this? This is what they think of an ideal husband. But they don't look beyond the tip of their noses. Look a little bit further. A man with such attributes, he would cheat on you. He's not going to be loyal to you. He's not going to get this wealth except from wrongdoings. So is this the man you want? Yeah, he has to be also, mashallah, an imam and a scholar. What is this? This might be found in paradise,
yes,
if Allah is willing, but not on this world. So I always tell my daughters when they're in their marrying age, what do you want in a husband? What I feel that you should look for in a husband is one who loves you, who respects you, who fears Allah when dealing with you. And why is that? It's very simple. Because if he's happy with you, he'll cherish you and love you. And if he's unhappy with you, he will not do you wrongdoings. He will be fair. He will not be unjust with you because he fears Allah. So this is the win-win situation for me as a father. I'd love to choose for my child someone who would respect her, who would love her, and who would try his best to make her happy. Now, he may be rich and he may be not. He may be fairly, well off, and he might be poor. Now, do I have to give my daughter to someone who is poor? Is she obliged to choose someone who could barely put food on the table? No, of course not. Allah Azza wa Jal told us that the men are the guardians of women because of what Allah has blessed them and because their provisions, because they're providing for the family. So if they cannot provide for the family, then they don't have the guardianship over the women. But having said that, I don't have to go to extreme in the sense that he has to be multimillionaire. Anyone who is well off, who could open a house and support the family, and who is practicing, and at the same time who enjoys being a good character, who has a good character, good ethics, well-behaved, good conduct, this would be the ideal husband.
Yeah, and as you mentioned there, you encourage telling your daughters, it's a very big role for the parents, especially in these times. They put a lot of pressure on their daughters, especially fathers and mothers. They put a lot of pressure on their daughters in terms of making that choice.
Unfortunately, it's true. Now, if you have a son, it's much easier for him to pick and choose. When it comes to the daughter, they're racing against the clock, because the more the older they are, then the lesser chances of them being or getting the nice or the suitable spouse. Maybe in the West it's different, but where I come from in Arabia, if a girl is 18 or 19 years old and she's not married, she's, you know, being frightened. She's panicking, because getting married at an early age for girls is not like getting married at an early age for boys. And that is why some parents make the mistake of pressuring their kids, and this is wrong. And some go to the extreme of forcing their girls to get married, even if the girl is not interested or does not want to do that now. They still force her to get married, and this is a sin and it's forbidden.
Okay, so we look at the perspective from the girls. Let us look at the perspective of a young man growing up now, 15, 16, just out of secondary school, going into university. What are some of the things he has to do from now if he wants to be the ideal person in the future? What are some steps he takes?
Well, among the very first is to be a practicing Muslim. So definitely the more you are practicing and you follow the Quran and Sunnah, the more your life is blessed. The more everyone around you is blessed. And they're touched by your righteousness. Allah Azza wa Jal blesses a person who's practicing and everyone around him. So the minute this young boy is practicing and following the Quran and the authentic Sunnah to the letter, and going, acquiring knowledge from scholars and students of knowledge, trying to please Allah, Allah will make everyone pleased with him, first of all. Second of all, he has to be considerate. He has to know that as he has rights, others have rights as well.
Yes.
So once you look into the mirror and you see your own shortcomings and your disadvantages, you realize that no one is perfect. And this makes life much, much easier. When I look at my wife's shortcomings, I never get angry why she did not cook the food well, or why was it full of salt. I don't get angry with my wife when the house is not tidy or clean. I don't get angry with my wife when she does not iron my clothes. Why am I'm just a normal person like everyone else? Simply because I look at my own shortcomings, and I look at the things that my wife has to live up with, and then I start appreciating my wife and say, wow, if she can cope up with me and I'm a bad person with all my shortcomings, then the least I could do is cope up with her and appreciate the good things in her, which overwhelms the shortcomings.
Okay, let's go back to the young person growing up and wanting to be that ideal husband as well. The concept is out there now, and many of the youths, they complain of this. They said, for the young man, he says, okay, I'm going to have a beard after marriage. Okay, I'm going to have my trousers cut after marriage. And same thing for the girl. But as we're concentrating on the boys, they said girls don't look at us. It's going to be difficult for us to find a wife. How do you respond to these questions and comments from the young guys, the young Muslims?
We have an Arabic saying.